72 hours, and we're going to be catching up with the latest news, getting you guys involved. This over here is Ben.
Hello.
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 And I'm Ramon. And today we're going to be going into a video that was on Piers Morgan. I literally just suggested this because it was just there, and that's what we're going to start with, and we'll just go until we don't. So how you been? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Looking forward to the weekend already.
Well, the World Cup's starting tomorrow. I know all the women are really, really excited about that. So the women will be so happy that we've got a month of hardcore football. So I think that's
welcome round mine, ladies. I don't watch it. Just disappointment.
What, yours or the football?
Both.
I knew that was coming.
I'm a good cook, ladies. I'm a good cook.
No, cook.
No,
I'm a good cook. No, cook.
Luke.
No, it's cook. I'm a good cook.
Nope.
No, it's not. I'm cooking.
There's no you in it. There's no you in it.
I'm not gonna start. I'm not gonna start.
Racist. Why are you being racist?
Why are you being racist for? Hello, Nikki. How are you? I'm not.
Hello, beautiful Nikki. Hello, Curtis.
Hello, wonderful Curtis. Yeah, so here we go with our first video. It's a bit of Piers Morgan. This is about the Henry Novak and racist policing. So, yeah, let's get into it. In fact, I'll put it on a bit.
We've gotten to a point where the invocation of racism is so powerful that it can cause the cops to ignore the fact that a young man is saying, hey, I can't breathe, and I was just stabbed.
Why did Faraj do what he did in each incident? It depends on the skin color of the victim and the skin color of the
identity
killer.
Politics. Bring it down straight to identity politics, as usual. That's all you do.
This was completely cold and calculated. It was Hitlerian.
He never called for violence. He never called for people to take to the street.
J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, who said he should be alive today, and he would be if the last few generations of European elites had stood their ground against the politics of self-hatred and the mass invasion of migrants.
I do think he makes a really important point about self-hatred, and I'll actually go a step further and say it's actually white guilt.
Do you have much white guilt, Ben? I know that you've spoken about this before, and you feel that you've got to make it up to people for everything that we've done through history. So I know you've got this big thing where you're like, I know that I need to make up for my ancestors, and I know I need to, you know, maybe apologize for what you've done. I mean, how do you feel about that, Ben?
I'm white, get over it.
Good answer.
The shocking murder of Henry Novak has sparked an overdue debate across Western world about two-tier policing. Many believe, as I do, that post-BLM hysteria led to a climate of reverse racism, an overcorrection in which racism was to be assumed until proven otherwise.
Wait a minute, overcorrection in which, what is reverse racism?
Reverse racism.
Yeah.
So basically, you can't be racist towards whites. So they call it reverse racism.
Yeah. So if someone comes up to me and slags me off because of my skin color, they go, "You're being reversed racist." Is that right?
Something like that.
That's stupid.
An overcorrection in which racism was to be assumed until proven otherwise. As a sideline to the truly harrowing details of the Novak case, the UK in particular is now experiencing an outbreak of two-tier virtue signalling. Politicians here had no hesitation about taking a knee for George Floyd, for example. Many are resharing this image of the now Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, taking a knee while socially distanced from his then deputy. David Lammy, the UK's Deputy Prime Minister, was a big supporter of the Black Lives Matter movement. He condemned those refusing to take a knee as disrespectful. That was a different view.
Yeah, I wouldn't have taken the knee for anyone, to be honest. Would you? No.
Some commentators are suggesting this is a take the knee for Henry Novak moment. Would you take the knee for Mr. Novak?
Well, I look. I
Was it yes or no, Mr. Lammy? Would you take the knee for Henry Novak?
I think no, because look, I don't think that the family are asking for symbolism. They're asking for genuine common sense policing, and for them, they want to see a reduction in knife crime, and of course they're concerned about some of the police.
Why is he talking about something else? He asked him a simple question. They're very good at this. We've noticed this, you know, when we're watching the PMQs and everything. They never actually answer a question, do they?
It's not playing tennis, isn't it? Deflection.
Yeah, there's never really an answer.
I think no, because look, I don't think that the family are asking for symbolism. They're asking for genuine common sense policing, and for them, they want to see a reduction in knife crime. And
again, that's not the question he asked.
Of course, they're concerned about some of the policing that they saw.
So
on
you
this
agree,
occasion.
taking the knee is mere symbolism, isn't it, really? It was a bit of a charade at times.
That was a moment back then when we were still in the pandemic. This is today.
Oh, so it's different. It's different if it's a white person. It's different for it's a black person. That's crazy.
No, it wasn't during a pandemic. That's what he's saying. It's not during a pandemic, so...
Well, yeah.
It's difficult to overstate the extent to which BLM, an initially justified outpouring of collective fury, became a weird craze.
And it's funny as well, because they're moving it towards this discussion about this rather than what is actually going on. You know what I mean? Like, they're talking about that. That's such an irrelevant thing.
Across the world, major companies changed their logos around billboards or TV campaigns about their anti-racist credentials. A spate of official reports condemned as racist everything from English cricket to the British countryside. Premier League football.
Oh yeah, and we covered that last year, I believe, where they were saying there was too many white people living in the countryside. I think that was earlier this year where I'd done that video, and they're saying in England there's too many white people. Like, what are you talking about?
Taking a knee before every single game, and continued to do so for several years. Official police guidance, as we now know, was updated to eradicate colourblind policing and actively pursue a so-called equity of outcomes. Well, to begin with, like many people, I was in lockstep with the sentiments of BLM. But despite that, I never personally took a knee.
What's your feelings, Ben, on Black Lives Matter?
It's a scam, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's a scam.
But so without the movement as it is, like there's different parts of the, I suppose you could call it a company or a branding or whatever it is. What's without all of that? If it was just me and it didn't exist and I went Black Lives Matter, what is your view on that? Like, if it's just me saying it, no one's ever said it before.
Well, it shouldn't exist. Yeah, I agree with you.
No, but I mean, the statement in itself, just Black Lives Matter. Well, yeah, of course, Black Lives Matter. Of course,
All lives matter.
Yeah, like that whole and that's what offends people. But I don't understand why there's still parts of this branding or company that are in existence when it's been known to have fraud. Like, I know there's money that's gone missing. There was a video, I think it was Candace Owens or someone exposed it like 2 or 3 years ago, and like 60 or 80 million pounds or dollars went missing of the funding. It didn't go back to the community. It went who knows where.
Well, they've not helped a single family yet, have they?
That's the point.
Years.
That's the point. So on the basis of what it's meant to represent, cool. You know, like anything, if there's some sort of funding for something, if it's going to a court, it's great. It's great. You know what I mean? If there's funding going towards something, it's helping the community, cool. Do whatever you're doing. But it isn't.
I participate in the Black Square event on social media. I don't believe
Cheers,
in
Spartan. Big love, man.
virtue or in corralling people into social statements by force. As I said last week, if you reject identity politics and sincerely believe in the ideal of a colourblind society, then you shouldn't now be repeating the same mistakes. The difference, though, is that so many of our politicians and celebrities clearly do believe in performative virtue, as long as it's their version of it. And not for the first time, they've been exposed as a bunch of raging hypocrites. Well, joining me in the studio is Leda Cunningham, Reform UK's candidate for London Met.
You used to like her until she made those crazy comments about Restore, about everyone being far-right Nazis and...
And political columnist Ashok Kumar. Joe Walsh, the former Republican presidential candidate and host of The Social Contract, and the political commentator Kaizen Asedu. Well, welcome to all of you. Welcome back to you, Kaizen. I haven't seen you for a long time, so great to have you back, as well as the others. OK, let's get into this.
Here we go.
Ashok Kumar, my problem with all this, in terms of the reaction, is precisely what Nick Ferrari exposed there with David Lammy, the UK's Deputy Prime Minister, because he didn't have a good answer for why he wouldn't take the knee for Henry Novak.
It should have been a thing. Do you know what? It would have... I don't, the whole bending the knee thing for anyone, I think, is rather silly. It's not going to change anything. But the fact that he wouldn't do it shows a double standard. Because if he would have just sat and done it, if he would have done that, I would have gone... It's not saying I believe him, but you know what? Fair play to you, because at least you're doing it for everyone. You're playing the middle ground. But they never do. They never do.
They're very similar. They're different, but they're very similar, actually. They're about police misconduct when somebody is dying, where if they take more care and consideration, then perhaps the person may have lived. The fact that Lammy couldn't answer that, to me, is just blatant hypocrisy. Yeah. It's just, he can't explain why something happens in America and he's falling to the knee as a symbol of his virtue, but when it happens on his doorstep in the UK, he can't do it. Can you make sense of it?
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you. In large part, I think the knee taking was completely performative. It was superficial. There were genuine concerns about police misconduct. It is a fact that in this country, and you can go on the Home Office website just today and see that if you're a black man, you're 3.5 times more likely to be stopped and searched than someone who's white.
Maybe because of the crime rates, my friend. Isn't it? It's not just, they're not just going, well, let's just go and stop again, I know it can get out of hand and you could say there's something needs to be done about it, because I know there's a artist called Skepta and his brother JME. They do a lot of their filming, like their music and grime and all of that, and they do it from their cars, just driving around, whatever. They're doing nothing wrong. No crimes are being committed. They're just filming their music. And there was a week or a month where one of the brothers, JME, he's got a BMW and that he's earned his money. He's got the right to drive and do what the hell he likes. And he was just filming in his car live streaming. And he must have been stopped 6 or 7 times in that month. And he genuinely, I was watching it, he'd done nothing wrong. So from the perspective of that, there is definitely a problem with that in London. It's a black guy in a car, a nice car. Wonder if he's done something wrong. So I do think that's a thing exists. But in general, like you've just said, crime rates, man, like a lot of the gang violence and everything. Yeah, it is white kids as well, but that's why more people are being stopped. It's obvious, isn't it?
You are twice as likely.
And it's not racist. The thing is, people are making it racist just for you to say it, and it shouldn't be.
And you're 7 times as likely to be killed, restrained to death through positional asphyxiation by the police. Those are real issues. The whole performance black square and the taking the knee, and that's correct. That's identity politics. We shouldn't make this about identity politics. We should make it about police accountability. Just like the Sarah Everard case, where Wayne Couzens, a police officer who was called the rapist for years by the police force, was allowed to do that. Well, did this, and then there was genuine concerns about how do we hold the police accountable. Not through identity politics, not through various different tokenistic measures, but genuine accountability. And that's what we need to do here. You need to say, how do we hold these police accountable? How do we actually have accountability boards? How do we charge police the same ways that
I agree with that, all about the police. But again, they're talking about this. That's not what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the fact that a kid had a knife and he stabbed someone in the heart.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about, like, the likelihood of being asphyxiated and stuff like that by the police. More white people, particularly in America, are killed by police than other
I don't know.
groups.
Are they? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. White people are killed more by police than other groups. And that you'll find it on their government sites.
Else, they're not exceptional, rather than make this a race issue, which it certainly is not.
Okay. I mean, we don't actually know that.
Well, I disagree with them as well. This is a race issue because I'll say it as I've said it to everyone before. I think if the kid on the floor was a black kid and a white kid had stabbed him, the white kid would have been the one arrested again. That's what if it was the other way around, and that's not me attacking black people. I'm just saying I think that's what would have happened. If there's a black kid on the floor holding his chest saying I've been stabbed, 2-3 white police officers, the first thing they're going to be afraid of is the whole thing with racism. They are going to be afraid of that. It's just how it is in this country.
It's preferential treatment as well.
Yeah, and I think if there's a kid in it, because they cannot afford to make that mistake where a black kid is stabbed by a white kid and they don't handle it properly, the black community will be out rioting like they've done in the past with things that have happened. I believe, what was that guy's name? There was someone in a car and the police shot someone in a car and people started rioting a couple of years ago, weren't it?
I mean, I hear what you say. We don't actually know it wasn't a race issue because we don't really know what was exchanged between the two of them leading up to what happened. So we don't actually know for a fact what went down, which caused this situation to happen. So I think we shouldn't rush into saying it is, but we shouldn't also perhaps rush into saying it definitely wasn't. We don't know, right? Kaizen, you want to say something?
Yeah, well, what we do know is that the killer tried to invoke race as the reason that he killed the other person in self-defense. And I actually think that indicates something about the cultural psychosis that we're in. We've gotten to a point where the invocation of racism is so powerful that it can cause the cops to ignore the fact that a young man is saying, hey, I can't breathe, and I was just stabbed, and I'm bleeding onto the floor. But the cops are more focused on...
Do you know what's crazy about this, Ben? Why does it take someone in America, a black guy in America, over a black person in the United Kingdom to call this out? Like, he's saying the right things, but over here it's like you can't say it. You've got guys like, that's what I'm trying to say. So it's not everyone is like this. Not everyone is using this race thing. He's calling it what it is. It's fucking terrible treatment, you know?
It's also to do with the mainstream media as well.
Yeah.
Viewing him as the perpetrator because he was accused of racism rather than addressing the fact that he's bleeding out. So race is involved. And you know what's interesting? It's the fact that the man who killed Henry Novak knew to use race as his defense. He knew how powerful it is to say, this man attacked me for race.
And again, someone says that in this country, Ben, they get in trouble for saying that. You see what I'm saying? He's far right then. That guy is considered far right. Praise to him for what he's just saying.
So that is the racial component that we do know.
I think that's absolutely right. Yeah, Layla?
I think you're right, because, stabbing victims should never lose his presumption of innocence because the offender screams racism. And what we saw after Stephen Lawrence and George Floyd was guidance to the police was changed. And initially, I think the guidance was to eradicate racist conduct, which we cannot deny did exist within our police force. We saw with Stephen Lawrence. But it's changed to equalize equality of outcomes, irrelevant of offending history. And that's where the mistake has happened. And I think public servants, and listen, I was a senior Crown prosecutor, so I know this, are so scared of getting the race issue wrong that it clouds their judgment and forces them to get operational decisions catastrophically wrong.
Do you know what? I don't want to sound. I'm going to come across as a bigot, but I don't really care right now. In London, you have a lot of. What did they? When they was in scammers, like the guy we watched, Kurt Kaz, when he was in Paris, and you walk around, it's like, oh, we're selling this, or we're selling, you know what I mean, little flowers, darling, and all this stuff. And as soon as police come up, me no English. Hang on a minute, love. You were just talking to me for 5 minutes in English. You were perfectly fine. They know. In other words, a lot of people know how to game the system. It's the same with migrants that are coming into this country. With the videos we watch with the Daily Express, what are you going to England for? Well, gangs, selling drugs. They know what to do and what to say, which is why so many could just freely walk in. Like, if we were a just country, we wouldn't be allowing this.
Well, this again goes down to police don't know how to investigate crime. Like, if they were speaking English to, say, yourself, and the police officer, that perpetrator starts saying, no English, no English. Immediately, my thought would be, like, were they speaking English to you? And they go, yeah, okay. Got our video? Right, great. Right, you little shit house.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Games.
That's how we used to be, bro. That's how we used to be in this country. It used to be just say it as it is, and we wouldn't put up with this.
Saw it with a young girl here who was killed by her father. Her name was Sarah Sharif, and her father was a Muslim Pakistani, and he covered her hair to hide the bruises. And the two adult females in the family had not had their hair covered, and social services were too scared to ask why.
Quick one. Sorry to quickly go on about it. Prime example is the trial that happened in Manchester. We had to have a retrial twice for that brother who got off, and they said they feared for their life, so they let him off. Think of it again. Put that as two young white blokes of 17, 18 getting into fights and punching a police officer. Regardless of whether the police took it too far, that's a separate matter. You've got to, charge the police or whatever, punish the police officer for whatever he done. But in regards to the two, if it was two white kids, if they were at an airport and one of them punched a female officer, broke her jaw, broke her nose, and the other brother was involved, believe me, they would be behind bars, mate.
Yeah, and that's happened. It's happened in the past where police officers have been a bit naughty.
Yeah.
So, probably defend themselves, court, jail.
It would.
Her hair was covered.
It's happened.
Being called Islamophobic. And I'm not saying it led to her death, but as a result, questions that could have saved her life were not asked. And so
but there is another component to this, and it involves your boss of your party, Nigel Farage, where I think there is a clear double standard in his attitude to this, because obviously he's been heavily criticised for what he said in light of what happened to Henry Novak. Let's take a look at the clip.
Okay.
Henry's family have responded to this in just the most extraordinarily dignified way. But I suggest the rest of us respond to this with pure, cold rage. This is wrong.
Now, the problem with
there is no problem with that. The problem with that is it's not said enough in this country. Regardless of who it is, it should be pure cold rage. People should be angry. People should be upset. Like with what happened again in Belfast yesterday. I've seen a lot of people on social media and places like Piers Morgan with these people saying, well, why are you going around attacking them? This isn't just about one incident. The thing in Belfast isn't just about, this one person done this in Belfast and tried to behead someone. This one person done this to Henry Novak. This one person done it to someone else. That one person is 1,000 people. It's terror attacks, it's illegal migrants, it's cover up of grooming gangs, it's girls being abused weekly. That's what a lot of these people fail to realise is in other words, it's going to just take a little push of something. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean the Belfast thing. That's the whole reason. It's just that's the final straw, if you like. And I disagree. You shouldn't go around burning people's homes and all of this shit. Of course not. But
we said this before, didn't we?
It's pushed people to such a limit of being ignored. People are going to explode. That's on the government.
Yeah, we said this before, didn't we? We talked about it a few times in the past. It's not just one incident. It's everything. It's cost of living. It's two-tier policing, two-tier politics. It's anti-British and being against the British white people, working class, and it's all building.
And it's still in people's minds. Things like Southport, things like there's one more thing happens and you go, oh, Southport. Oh, the thing that happened in Melbourne. Was it Melbourne or Sydney earlier? Was it beginning of this year with the shooting?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you see one thing, then you see another thing, then you see, oh, it's happening in Germany, it's happening in France, it's happening in, and then finally it explodes, and then all of the governments and all of the media go, well, why is this happening? Is it just because that thing in Belfast? No, it's what people have been screaming about for decades. It's everything.
Do you remember when I said something bad's going to happen this year?
Yeah, you did. Yep.
This isn't even a start yet. What's to come?
Later, is that I saw a senior member of the Sikh community on Sky News this morning, very eloquent, very well informed, talking about the fact that this particular young Sikh had not used the ceremonial kirwan to commit this murder. He'd used a large Turkish knife, which was an illegal act anyway, and is now serving over 20 years in prison for doing that, right? So this idea this was a Sikh issue... But actually, well, hang on, I haven't finished yet. And my point is that what Nigel Farage did by saying what he said is he was deliberately trying to stir up the very rage we then saw down in Southampton.
I disagree with that completely. All he's doing is saying what people want to hear. I mean, was it last night when we covered that, the guy who was on with Michelle Dewberry on GB News, and they were talking about...
George, was it? His name George?
Yeah, and they were talking about the murder, Rhiannon White, and he was like, I don't know who that is. And this is someone from Labour. So it just shows you how out of touch they are with just your everyday Joe. Like, I guess even where you are, Ben, hotels and all that stuff. I bet there's stuff that's happened around where you are with these people that's probably not even made the mainstream news. In Scotland, Glasgow, Liverpool, Manchester, there's all these other little places, Portsmouth. I bet it's happening in all of these places. And it's just that we only see the extreme make the news. But if it's happening all over, it's going to get that rage. So to me, maybe the words were wrong from Farage,
or a bunch of
but I don't think he's wrong.
Attacking the police, and the reason I think that he's a hypocrite is because I want to remind you, we just had Ashok remind us about the story of the murder of Sarah Everard by the Met Police officer Wayne Couzens. Now that too sparked anti-police protests, but at the time, Nigel Farage said we must not allow the tragic murder of a young woman turn into attacks on men and attacks on the police. Very, very different language and rhetoric.
Wait a minute.
And attacks on the police. Very, very...
We must not allow the tragic murder of a young woman turn into attacks of men on men and attacks on the police. So is he two-faced for saying that?
Well, he's not said, oh, we should go out into violence. He can own violence.
And he hasn't even, he just said you've got every night right to be mad.
Yeah, cold rage, you've got cold rage, but don't go out and be violent, is what he was saying. It's because it's done in segments. Typical MSM, they've just gone, propaganda, we'll twist that, that, take this bit out, take that bit out. And this is the thing, it's got to be regulated. MSM has to be regulated because it's self-regulated at the minute.
Because it does sound like, when you look at it like that, you could go, well, it's a double standard. He said it for one, not for the other. I can understand that perspective, but like you've just said, Starmer made the big hoo-ha with Donald Trump saying, no, we've had free speech for a long time. Saying people should have cold, hard rage is not, like you just said, it's not inciting. But he didn't say go out and take action. He didn't go out and say you should go and feel this. Realistic, be angry. And no doubt, like everything else that the people on the right say over the last 5-10 years, Keir Starmer will end up saying these same exact words again in a year, but it'll be all right when he says it, because we've seen him do it so many other times.
Different language and rhetoric to what he used this time round. What's the difference?
So, a few things to unpack there. I don't think that the public are robots and wait for Nigel Farage to voice anger.
Of course.
Well, the family
hang on.
specific,
I didn't care.
he said they didn't want people to use it for the reason that he then exactly used it for.
So you say there was a backlash against what Nigel said. It was a backlash amongst the political class.
Yes.
I think what you'll find
But the family
is the
deliberately
public...
said they did.
No, but then I expect there's family and people around George Floyd who probably said, we don't want people to go out and riot and smash up towns and cities. I don't believe all of his family and relatives and close friends would have said, yeah, go out, everyone, and smash up the town. Of course they would have said no.
Well, the other thing Farage said as well about George Floyd and that, like when all the riots were going on and all the fucking psycho terrorists were going around smashing the place up, chucking statues in rivers and whatnot, getting away with it. As he said, what has foreign things that happen in foreign countries got to do with this country?
Yeah.
That's what he was saying.
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
And away with it.
And I don't think any of those people that did all of that, you know, with the statues, smashing things, and it just shows you, well, you've got away with it, yeah. So, like, if
went to court over it and he got away with it.
If me and you done that, we're getting banged up. That's what I'm trying to say.
We're Antifa.
It's like what we're saying. It's not just one thing. It's like when we start talking about it, you just said, oh, about the statues. I forgot about that. The thing where they sprayed the paint over Prince Charles's thing with blood or whatever it was. It's still something to antagonize. The thing with the airport, the thing with the sledgehammer over someone's back. Like it's like constantly there's something happening like that. The thing, where was it? Bristol or with that group, the religion of light or whatever, like the flipping mini cult army. Yeah, Crew. Thank you. It's like there's constantly a barrage of things happening, and the government or like you just said, the mainstream media pick up on the one thing. Oh, here's the latest thing. Why are they getting mad because of this one? No, it's not this one thing. It's a list of about a million things. It's another, it's another thing.
Yeah, for political motivation.
But he's not using it for political motivation. No, it is not the job of politicians to suppress the public's anger. It is the job.
Is it their job to whip the public into a rage where they start attacking police?
No.
Well, touche, Mr. Piers Morgan, because wasn't it Keir Starmer who encouraged everyone to close all of their shops after the Southport incident and said there's going to be over 100 far-right marches tonight because Nick Lowles from Hope Not Hate put out information to the government and said there's going to be all of these far-right protests tonight. And all I remember, it was down in Manchester. That's the thing when Ricky Jones was out doing that and he got off. That was that night. And that was because Keir Starmer went on national TV and said that all of these far-right thugs were going to be out. We sat back and was like, right, I remember streaming it. I'm like, where are all these thugs? We didn't see any of them on there. What we saw was, I think it was in Stoke or something like that, the Muslim kids with all the knives and everything. And the police went up to them and said, you could go and put them in the mosque. You don't have to do nothing. That was on camera. Nobody arrested.
Yeah, it was Hanley.
We saw Sky News at, I don't want to say Bournemouth, I want to say somewhere around, but there was the big giant roundabout and there was a load of Asian kids in balaclavas and they pulled someone out of the pub and they were kicking him and done his lungs or his pelvis in or something like that, and they slashed up the Sky News van. That wasn't far right. That was whipped up because Keir Starmer went on national TV and said all of these far-right thugs were going to be out there. And we watched it live that night and there was none of them. It was just all of the people going out to supposedly protect the public from the far-right. And they're the ones that done all of that.
Don't forget with each of these incidents, like in Stoke, riot police were there, blocked off all the roads so no one can get out before anything even happened. Stopped people from leaving the area. And people like, oh, we'll try and get home. No. Sorry, you can't come this way. Well, why? We're not letting anyone through. And it's all the roads are blocked off, and the mosque lot come out. So it was premeditated what was going to happen.
I mean, it's like everything, isn't it? It's everything. Like even last year when I went up to that the hotel, the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf, before it kind of became a big thing. I remember it. We was watching it on the news, and there was all this talk about migrants in hotels. And the government said, it's not happening. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. And I thought, you know what? I can get to Canary Wharf in probably an hour. You lot were like, go up there. And I remember going up there with my camera. And I'm like, there was that guy. There's an Asian guy that come over with his family and booked into the hotel They'd close down the hotel without even telling people that were coming to the United Kingdom on holiday, by the way, this is now a migrant hotel, which they've probably paid thousands for. And then that night, I've come home that night and we were streaming it that night. And it was the very next morning, 1 or 2 in the morning, when that video came out with 2 or 3 coaches pulling up at the hotel. And I'm like, hang on, the government have been telling us this isn't happening. I was there and see it with my own eyes. Now we're watching it on video with our own eyes. It's what I'm trying to say. It's just more and more and more, you know?
No.
And if so, why didn't he do that over the murder of Sarah Everard?
You're conflating 2 issues. We're focused here.
Well,
on
2 people got killed by 2 people got killed, one by a police officer and one by one by a young Sikh. But you could argue that the inaction of the police, based on the reasons we saw from what Kaizen said about the presumption of believing the allegation.
And it's not her job either to defend Nigel Farage. You know what I mean? You can ask a question, but it's not for her to answer for him.
Racist. That you could argue the same thing had happened there. And yet Nigel Farage decided to make political capital, whipping up a rage amongst a mob with this one.
It's hypocrisy.
But not with the other one.
So,
It's
are you going to let me answer?
a 2-tier reaction.
I don't think it's a 2-tier reaction.
They're more concerned about that.
I felt cold rage. The public felt rage. And he's not talking about rage against Sikhs. He's not talking about rage against each other, rage against the community. He's talking about rage at a system that treats people differently according to the colour of their skin. And naming that anger...
Well, it's true. It's true. Again, another thing, the new properties that are being built and they're being given directly to migrants instead of people on a housing list that are waiting for homes. That's another example of it. It's what I'm saying. It's just, we could sit here, Ben, and talk and probably find a list of maybe 500-600 things and go, oh, that one, the farmers, what they did to the fisheries, what they did to the veterans, what they did to, like, it's just pensioners. It just keeps going.
It's the actual video. I find it remarkable that people are focusing on the reaction as opposed to the content of that video.
He wants to be Prime Minister of the country.
How are you doing still, Derek?
I have teenage boys. I have teenage boys of that age. And I do not want them growing up in a country where if they are stabbed and the police arrived and they are not believed, naming that anger is not what caused people to protest.
But why didn't Nigel Farage urge, in light of what happened here, why did he not urge the same restraint?
Yeah, so he's more focused on that. It's such an irrelevant thing. You could say it about any situation, any crime that's been committed. Go, yeah, but you did it for this. Why not do it for that?
Yeah, it's deflection.
It's the typical. Well, what about this? We're not talking about that. We're talking about this.
Don't forget, he's an antagonist.
Nigel did not say.
Saying before, weren't we? He's an antagonist. So he winds.
Yeah, it's all about it.
Question.
Yeah, it's not about getting a truthful response. It's about getting what will get the clicks, what will get the people watching.
It's
go and attack the police. After saying,
he wanted people to react with pure cold rage, and within 24 hours, a bunch of hooligans went down and picked up police.
That's a problem. So that's what I'm trying to say. So if you're trying to put that on Nigel Farage, then surely Keir Starmer should be under arrest for all of those incidents that happened after Southport then, because he was the one on TV that told everyone all of these far-right thugs were going to go out. He's the one who said that. He's the one who encouraged that. So because of that, should he now be charged with it then? Because if me or you done it, Ben, we would be in jail for saying the same words he said we would get in trouble for.
You think that those hooligans were purely reacting? Are you seriously saying that?
Yeah, I am.
Well, I fundamentally disprove
Really?
that.
Who else are they reacting to?
They're reacting to the video. You think they're just robots that whenever Nigel says move anger, they do? You have such a disrespect for the public.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
He does.
I don't respect any public that go and beat up the police, one. Second,
you don't respect any public that go and beat up the police. So why hasn't he gone on about the two? Yeah, so why hasn't he gone on about the 2 brothers that beat the fuck out of a woman at the airport then? That should be a big deal. That's a big deal. And he's barely mentioned it.
Secondly,
and it's a woman who had her face smashed in. Barely spoken about it.
It is incumbent on everybody, particularly in public service, politicians, to be extremely temperate with what...
Live Long says Keir Starmer will not take responsibility. Completely agree.
What they say
Politicians
in emotive moments like this. And he was the complete opposite.
I'm sorry, this was completely cold and calculated. It was Hitlerian. It's like you see something happen.
Hitlerian. So he was like Hitler. Jesus.
Let's remember, for 10
These
days,
people.
he was nowhere because he'd gotten £5 million from a crypto creep and he didn't want to answer any questions. And then all of a sudden,
well before he became a politician.
I know. So again, it's like bring up anything and everything but what happened. Isn't it?
Crawls out of a sewer, comes out, fuels a race riot, and then goes back into hiding.
What is
this was so obvious.
Let me bring in Joe.
one thing I want to ask: why is it that the left get away with things like that? Why is it that? Yeah, why is it that they're allowed to do? Because, for example, right, say she went up, like she's sitting there now, right, and it's not for her to defend him. She could have gone, well, you're a sex offender then. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because he's not like Hitler. He's clearly not like fucking Hitler. But it's okay to say those things. Well, in that case, you're a sex offender then. Why can't people say the same thing? Because if she did that, she would be on the front of the paper for slander. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a double standard of that stuff. That's what annoys me with it.
Can we have hang on, later. Let everyone speak. Joe.
Pierce, to your point, this is just hypocrisy. Why did Farage do what he did in each incident? It depends on the skin color of the victim and the skin color of
identity politics. Bring it down straight to identity
no,
politics, as usual.
Yeah.
That's all you do. That's what we want. We want equality under the law. That's it.
Let me
what is so
finish
hard
my
for you to
thought.
understand?
That's why Nigel got outraged about this incident and called for.
So he's saying it as if it's a fact. That's the problem. That's the problem.
To be clear, though, hang on, Joe. Hang on. Layla, let me handle the panel, please. It wasn't about the skin colour of the victim because they were both white, actually, in both of the cases. Right? The difference is that you have a police officer committing the crime in the first one, and in the second one, you have a young Sikh man. Right? And it seemed to me
it is not about the Sikh man.
I love cats, mate. I love cats.
What about the stabbing? It is about the stabbing victim not being believed.
If it's not about the...
You're conflating two issues.
If it's not about the ethnicity or skin colour of the perpetrators, why in the first case was Farage asking and demanding for restraint, and in the second case...
Because they're completely different circumstances. Do you know what I mean? It's the same with everything. One person gets punched in the mouth in the street, and another person gets punched in the mouth in the street, and there's two different outcomes. It's not every situation is the same, and he knows this as someone who's been working in media for 40, 50 years. So he's just doing this to rage bait people for clicks. It's coming so evidently clear what he is about. It's really, really bad. It's really, really bad.
He's an agitator. That's what he is.
Because we have a fundamental principle in this country that it is equality under the law. Justice must see conduct and not colour.
Why was there no equality in his rhetoric?
See, that's what he's very, very clever. We've noticed this over the last couple of weeks with Piers Morgan. He's very, very clever in taking this about a white kid that's been murdered in cold blood, and it's no longer about that. It's about Nigel Farage and the hate against reform, or anyone that's other than Labour and Conservatives, because he stands to lose. He stands to lose in terms of his company and his branding if someone like Reform gets in power, because they will come down hard on people like him. So again, it's not honesty. It's completely dishonest crap.
Fundamental question.
Why is it the fundamental question for you later? You may want
to,
as a classic young politician, you may want to reframe my questions, but my question remains the same. Why did Farage give one response over the Sarah Everard case?
You could do this with Piers Morgan on anything, really, on any interview he's ever done.
And another to this.
Because they are two fundamentally
the only difference is in this case, a Sikh committed the crime, and we saw now there have been a number of threats against members of the Sikh community, which, by the way,
exactly. But and if that's true, it's disgusting, because the people in this country don't have a problem with the Sikh community. Like, we never have. It's never ever been that way. Never. So it isn't about that. It's about the way he was treated. People are angry.
The thing is, it's like she was saying, stop trying to enter race. This is about equality. They're trying to move away from race. Fair play. Because if they go to race, it's because it's white. He didn't believe him. You know what they're trying to do, bring equality and stuff.
I mean, she could say the same. She could say the same thing about the protest at the United Kingdom thing. Why was there only facial recognition for United the Kingdom and all the white people there, but all the Free Palestine mob that were protesting on the same day, none of them had the police facial recognition? Why is that? See what I'm saying? It's like we keep saying, it's more than one thing.
It's not unlinked. I'm not saying it's caused it. I'm just saying there is clearly.
If you're not saying it's caused it, what are you saying it for then? Because it gets clicks.
Hang on.
Like, hello.
When there is a politician who wants to be prime minister, who's leading in the polls, which is Nigel Farage and Reform, you have to be careful what you say. When you say down the barrel of a camera, you want people to respond with pure cold rage, then you see within 24 hours, that pure cold rage manifests itself.
And again, it's no different from what Keir Starmer has done. It's no different from what he has done. You know, we will bring the full force of the law on all of you if you're English and you're white. but not anyone else? Because we've seen it, the sledgehammers attacks, we've seen it with all the other things. Why wasn't the full force of the law used then? Why isn't the full force of the law been used on grooming gangs? You know, it just goes on and on.
The sledgehammer attacks, they were white. They were white, weren't they? But it's because they were lefties.
Yeah.
Got away with it. That's the thing. It keeps saying, we need to unite the country as one. He's the one that's caused division.
Yeah, he is. He is.
He is the one that's causing division.
I mean, the fact that Ricky Jones, I keep bringing that up because it's certain things that have stood out over the last couple of years that have happened where I'm like, in your mind, it doesn't matter. Like, take yourself out of the frame of it. If we're living in Italy and we're looking at this as Italians, it's got nothing to do with us. And you go, right, look, there's a geezer on TV there. Yep. And he's going, I'm going to go over there and cut all of that. We've got to cut all of their throats. Those were his words. We've got to cut all of their throats. I'm like, that guy's going to jail. That geezer's going to jail. What do you mean he's a Labour councillor? What, a Labour councillor was on national TV saying, let's go and cut everyone's throats? That guy's got to go jail. And we're sitting there, no, he didn't. He just got a slap wrist. See you later. Like,
if he hadn't said,
do you know what I mean?
So you're saying that had he not given that speech,
no,
those people would not have attended.
We won't know, will we?
Well, hang on, but are you sure? Because that is the premise.
I'm saying you shouldn't say it.
No, but you are accusing him.
I'm saying Sarah shouldn't have said it.
So hang on, let's reverse it. You are accusing him.
Would you say it as London Mayor?
Yes, I would, because because it is my job to speak for the people. Yes, politicians will dance around the issue. Most people I felt rage watching that. I felt sorrow, rage, and disappointment at our country. And I don't think there's any issue in calling. He never called for violence. He never called for people to take to the street.
What he didn't call for. Hang on, later. What he didn't call for, notably, and this is where there's been a real disparity between the two incidents. He didn't call for the same restraint he called for in the case of Sarah Everard.
Yeah, but they're completely different cases, you know? Like, Piers Morgan tweets about all of these different crimes and everything on X, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. And he could easily pull up the same thing about any of these and go, well, hang on a minute. He said that he felt great sympathy for this one. He goes, this one, I thought it was tragic. Well, why didn't you feel sympathy for? You could do that about anything.
And Wayne Couzens, he didn't. And so I would simply like to know why in one case he demands restraint and in the other he demands cold.
Why don't you ask him? Why don't you ask him?
I'll tell you exactly why.
I want to bring in Kaizen and then I'll bring in Joe. Kaizen.
Okay. Well, the answer is we don't know, right? Because we're not Nigel.
That's true.
We're not in
That's true.
I think what we should be identifying is what should he do? Like, ideally, what should a leader do in these circumstances? And I think multiple things can be true at the same time, right? You can acknowledge the rage of the public because people are angry, irrespective of what you say. You should also tell people that you can keep your emotion, but don't act on it by retaliating against police officers or member of the Sikh community or by going out in the streets and burning things.
But politicians are not parents. They are not there to tell the people.
Actually, Kaizen's exactly right. That's exactly what any sensible...
He's just changed his tune. Now he's saying exactly what she's just said. He's saying the same thing, basically, what Layla said. And now because Layla's spoken out against him, Piers has taken that side to keep the argument going. Do you see that? That is so shady.
By going out in the streets and burning things.
But politicians are not parents. They are not there to tell the people.
Actually, Kaizen's exactly right. That's exactly.
Look how quick he is. He's so quick to jump on it.
Any sensible politician.
Please don't do that because I'm not going to do it to you, okay? Thank you. And the third thing that you do is say, hey, here's what we're going to do so that this never happens again. Because I think that's what people are most interested in, right? Not whether a politician takes the knee or says you should be angry.
And Kaizen, on that point, we now know, obviously it's now been widely disseminated that the police up and down the country were given instructions that they should not be colourblind. In other words, they should not practice real equality in terms of how they look at these things. They should be aware of people's skin.
Which contradicts the other video we watched yesterday when they were talking about the police training, weren't they? They were talking about the police training, how they've got to look at it in that way. They have to look at things differently depending on who they are.
Colour, ethnicity, and so on.
It doesn't make sense.
I've always felt that is completely the wrong way for police forces to go about their job. They should obviously to be colourblind, shouldn't they?
I agree. The whole point of the law is that it's neutral and it's evenly applied. That's what it is to be principled. And the reaction to the George Floyd incident is to hyper-racialize everything, where now, rather than race not being a consideration at all, it's the first consideration that police are making in situations like this, which is what led to their neglectful behavior. So, yeah, I totally agree.
Joe Walsh,
well said, that man. I like him.
The reaction.
Yeah, bang on.
And in the moment, at the time, I watched that video, the 8-minute video of him being killed. I thought it was horrific. I thought that the worldwide anger was understandable. I had no problem with people taking the knee. I chose not to myself because
I understood, and that just completely backtracks on everything he's just been waffling. I understand the anger that everyone felt. Well, that's what Layla Cunningham has just been talking about. Everyone feels rage. She's literally just said the same thing. Now he's saying it.
I watched that video.
He doesn't make
video
sense.
of him being killed.
It's because he's black.
I thought it was horrific.
Yeah.
I thought that the worldwide anger was understandable.
So why was that under? See what I'm trying to say? So using his own narrative that he just used on Layla. So why was that one understandable, but this one with the anger, why was that not understandable when Farage said it then? He's literally just walked into his own trap.
I chose not to myself.
It doesn't make sense.
Forcing people to signal their virtue. If you want to do it, you can. I didn't do the black square on Instagram on that day either. I just don't think any of that makes any real difference. But the taking the knee became a huge global thing. You know, my football team, Arsenal, all the players took the knee. They have many black players on the team, and they felt very passionately about it, and I understand that. But I've been very struck by the embarrassment of our same political leaders this time when they're being confronted about why you wouldn't do it for Henry Novak. Yeah, and this is the problem with virtue signalling. If you only signal it when it suits you, it's not real virtue.
Well, that's what you've just done, though. He's literally just done that, though, on his own show.
It's a double standards virtue, isn't it?
Pierce, you're right. It's a double standard, and it's whatever fits the public figure's narrative, the politician's narrative. I mean, my God, Farage called for cold rage. No public figure should call for that. But why did he call for that in this case? Because this fits his narrative.
No, he called for rage. He said you should feel cold, hard rage, and you should, because the same way we felt with Southport with 3 girls dying. Like, people are going to be angry, of course.
The black immigrant is the killer. Both
he
the
wasn't
left
an immigrant,
and
he was
right
British.
do this. Both the left
you
and the
assumed
right
he was an immigrant because he was brown.
Let me finish.
That's your
Please
assumption.
let me finish.
He wasn't an immigrant. He was British.
Let me finish
That's funny.
complete thought.
You assumed he was
Get
an
your
immigrant.
facts right, you thick
That is
American
your assumption.
bastard.
That's the left's assumptions.
That is my assumption.
Yep.
Yes, he called for cold rage because of who this killer was. There's no accident here. No public figure should ever call for that in any incident like that. This is utterly irresponsible, period. Both sides demagogue whenever this happens, when an incident fits their narrative. Now, there needs to be an official investigation. And Pierce, you nailed it. There's no doubt there's racial bias in the policing here. But let's remember, let's have an investigation instead of demagoguing this thing.
Well, I agree, but also
we don't know.
Agree, but hang on. Okay, let me bring in. I want to bring. I agree. Let me bring in Layla back, because one person who completely got this wrong, and in my view, in a deeply inflammatory way, just as Nigel Farage did, is J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, who said Henry Novak died the same way a civilization dies: abandoned, handcuffed by authorities, neither trusted nor cared for him, and accused of hate crimes he didn't commit.
Yes. That's not incorrect.
Fact.
His murder is as tragic as it's enraging. He should be alive today, and he would be if the last few generations of European elites had stood their ground against the politics of self-hatred and the mass invasion of migrants, many of whom despise the West and the people who love it.
What's wrong in that? Like, I mean, we watched the videos of the people coming over, and how many times have we seen in debates that as soon as this discussion about migration comes up, the only thing the left go to, but look what England done, and look what the colonization, look what you done. So in other words, you deserve it. So we're right then. What he said here is actually right. It's not wrong. It's right.
Henry was far from the first to so needlessly lose his life, and I fear he won't be the last. Each time a life like this is lost, the proper response, the only response, is righteous anger. One of the most important things the Trump administration has proven to the world is that stopping the flow of mass migration and defending national sovereignty is a matter of political will and leadership. Anything else is an excuse. It's because we love the West, we want to preserve it. We love our civilization, we love our country, we love our children, and nobody should ever die the way Henry Novak died. May God comfort those who loved him, and may God rest his soul.
I think that's a bloody good thing he said, man. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I think that's pretty bloody good.
If you take J.D. Vance's line here, that Henry Novak would be alive if the last few generations of European elites had stood their ground against the mass invasion of migrants. Well, here's the problem. Yes, you might have stopped the family of the killer coming in to the United Kingdom, okay? But you would also have stopped the family of the victim.
So he would probably still be wherever he's from, Ukraine or whatever, and he wouldn't have been stabbed. So yeah, it would have still saved his life. He'd still be alive, wouldn't he?
Half Polish.
Right. Poland
Polish
then.
heritage.
Right.
So what J.D. Vance has unwittingly...
No, but But even so, if that was the case and we did stop everyone coming in, that kid would still be alive somewhere in Poland, wouldn't he? Like that.
Proven with this statement, other than his utter
Yeah,
ignorance of the
and
story, is that it's very glib to say the problem is all mass migration, right to the point you realise the Novak family, under his rules, should have had the European elite standing their ground and banning them from entering the United Kingdom. And that, again, right there is
So all you've got to say to Piers Morgan is go, yeah, and he would still be alive, wouldn't he?
ignorance bounded with double standards. Let me bring you. Well, let me ask later, first of all, your response.
Oh, the US wouldn't exist,
What do
would
you
it?
say to JD Vance?
Yeah.
He's wrong, right?
The fundamental question. That
Is he wrong? Don't keep asking your own fundamental questions. Answer my question.
Because you keep diverting. Yeah,
You're sounding such a politician.
No. What?
The fundamental question is not the one you're about to ask yourself. It's the one I just asked you.
Hang on. I've got 4 people.
Why don't you answer my question?
What is your question?
My question is, do you agree with JD Vance?
Not with everything he said, no.
Do you agree specifically that if the last few generations of European elites had stood their ground against a mass invasion of migrants, this wouldn't have happened?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't have happened because he wouldn't have been here. So therefore, he would be in Poland, wouldn't he? So he'd be alive still.
It's trying to turn into a racist comment now, isn't
yeah,
it?
So whether that's right or wrong, whether that is right or wrong, would he still be alive? Yes. So
He'd still be alive.
No.
Right. Okay. So JD Vance is.
I don't agree with that premise of what happened to Henry Novak.
It's obviously complete bullshit.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
The Novak family wouldn't be in the country.
No, and my
So then he would
parents
be
said
alive.
I don't agree with that premise. But
it's what about, isn't it? Yeah, but what about?
we do have an issue where a dying boy was
What
disbelieved
if?
because someone said
yeah.
he was racist.
That is true. And there was an immediate rush by the police to believe the killer with the full story of racism. And that is why they didn't initially believe the victim who was bleeding out in front of their eyes. And that is, I think, Ashok, and correct me if you think this is not right, but that is a problem of the fallout from the George Floyd thing, which is that actually the rush for DEI, the rush for all these new rules and regulations about effectively not treating...
I'm going to save this video because he's going to stumble. He's going to stumble and say everything the opposite of this in the next month on something else. Do you know what I mean?
But making a point of treating people from certain ethnicities or skin colours differently.
Jump to conclusions.
Right? Then it inevitably, in my view, is going to lead to a situation like this where the police, with that in the back of their minds, think we better take this seriously, what this Sikh is saying, or there may be a backlash against us for being racist. That's the problem with it.
Okay, so a few things here. Firstly, I want to go back to really quickly the question of why Nigel Farage did this at this time and he wouldn't have done it a month ago. Is because
because he hadn't been killed yet. That's why.
Is taking 8 to 10% of his base, and he has to reignite his base. He can go 2 directions. He can either broaden his base or deepen his base. His base is hollowing out, and he has to reaffirm that.
If his base is hollowing out, why did Piers Morgan say they're the most likely to win the next election? Why are they the top of all the polls then? If the base is thinning out, that don't make no sense.
Calling for a restart.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The recent by-election poll restores at 8%.
Who cares?
But the reason that shot for restores gathering popularity is because Elon Musk fell out with Nigel Farage, is now full square behind Restore.
Yeah, Paul, bro.
The most gigantic platform of his own X feed on his own platform. He's
also.
Where'd you get your hat, Ben? Everyone wants your hat.
He's also speaking to us.
I got it from Amazon, actually, funny enough. I'll put the link in Discord.
Overlap with Restore and Reform. The second issue is that the statistics are very clear. It is still the case that black men in this country are 7 times more likely to be killed by asphyxiation by the police. We don't know the full details of the story, but the police clearly were in the wrong here. We don't know the details, and it's very easy that the police...
So if you don't know the details, how can you make all the assumptions you've been making for the last half
they
hour?
Said, oh, it's because of this the race issue. No, you've made mistakes. There's one party in this country, the Green Party, that's calling for neighborhood and democratic accountability, and that...
The Green Party, so he's a Green Party. Yeah, and the Green Party wants to legalise crack for children. Like, what are you talking about, mate?
They're tried like everyone else.
The Green Party don't accept anything that's gay in this country. Like... because they're all bloody Muslims. Like, what are you talking about?
And that we have anti-bias trainings, genuine anti-bias training. So we don't look at race as a factor. It's not that the Labour Party or the Tories or Reform are calling for any of that. They want to strengthen the arm of the police, hold them less accountable, and have no forms of accountability, no boards to hold them accountable. So
yeah, let's not all worry about it. Let's just get all the kids together and give them some acid. Bloody idiot.
None of the reforms they're calling for, they're not even calling for any reforms. They're just calling for cold rage not actually holding the police accountable. That's why this is opportunistic. That's why this is so clearly an exploitation of a tragedy.
All right,
Actually, can I ask you one question? Do you think a white person can suffer from be a victim of racism?
I think, yeah. I mean, it's very possible that race for me, like Stuart Hall,
yes,
like
so yes.
I'll answer this. Like the great British political analyst said, Stuart Hall, race is a modality in which classes lived. The police attack working class people consistently, preserve the rich. We see this time and time.
What are you talking about, the rich? Do you think a white person can suffer?
Of course they can.
Okay,
working class people, white people.
What evidence will convince you that a white victim has been treated differently because of race? What evidence do you need?
We don't have that.
To acknowledge that?
It's possible.
Well, you do need, that just happened though. We know that. I think we know that. I think all of us know that he was treated differently, because if it was a Muslim kid or a black kid on the floor that said I've been stabbed, the police can't afford to make that mistake, because there would have been riots. So he would have been treated differently. Like, we've seen it. It would have happened.
Evidence.
That's how it is.
Okay, so, and what about if you look at the
But do you think it's wrong that black men are 7 times more likely to be murdered by the police in restraints? Do you think that's wrong? Do you think that's a problem?
Of course it's a problem. Racism is abhorrent, no matter which way it flows. But we look at racism through a very narrow lens.
Let me bring in Cousin.
Yeah, so Piers, you put up that
Hang on, Joe, I'll bring you in after.
Yeah, so you put up that statement from J.D. Vance, and I think it is overstating it to say that Henry Nowak would be alive if it wasn't for mass migration, because even if Europe had a rational migration policy, which it has not, we don't know if that particular family of Henry Nowak would have gotten into the country and the killer's family would have gotten in. But I do think he makes a really important point about self-hatred, and I'll actually go a step further and say it's actually white guilt. We've created this culture in the West where I think white people have been demonized and have been demonizing themselves for the sins of their forefathers, and has been to ignore the wins of their forefathers as well, right? There's a lot of focus on the fact that the British Empire engaged in slavery, which is of course awful, but there's an ignorance of the fact that the British Empire was also the first major power to end slavery across its empire and force other empires to end slavery too. And I think what's happened is that many white people feel so consumed by guilt that they're reacting in a way to be defensive and avoid being labeled as racist no matter what.
I don't care anymore, do you, with that? If someone comes up to me and says, oh, you're racist for the videos you do, I don't really care, because I just don't care. I don't care because it's such an irrelevant, for me, it's such an irrelevant. If someone goes to me, I'm racist, I don't know. I've had more black women than white women. Okay, I must be racist then. I like Asian women. I must be racist then. It doesn't make sense. Like, the term it's been thrown around so much over the last 10 years that it just doesn't mean anything. And I'm not the only one who thinks like that. It's just been thrown around that anyone who disagrees with anyone, oh, well, he's racist. That guy done it literally at the start of this thing. Oh, he was like Hitler. He was like Nazi. Okay, I don't agree with you. I must be racist then. Like, fuck off. Like,
the thing is today, especially with the left, is they use words without knowing the actual meaning of the word.
Yeah.
Trying to change the word.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Racism,
mean what
man,
you think it means.
Racism, to me, is me and you walking down the street, coming out of the pub after a good night and seeing a black bloke at a bus stop and a couple of white geezers picking them, going, "Oi, you black," like, you know what I mean, going at it. Me and you going, "Oi, mate, fuck off. Don't do that." That's racism. That is racism. Me and you saying, "No, I want our country to be the way it is." That means everyone in the world is racist then. That means every single person in the world is racist, because if you went up to any Jamaican in Jamaica and said, do you want to keep your roots here? Do you want to keep your culture here? Yeah, we do. You're racist then, because that's what we're demonized for. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
I think that's what happens in incidents like this where, yeah, you could say it's racism against white people, but I think it's deeper. I think white people are scared. And
I don't care anymore.
Policies that are based on fear, you get undesirable outcomes like this. So when J.D. Vance says that you've been teaching people self-hatred, I think he's right. I think self-hatred is the reason why people don't have rational immigration policies.
Do you think, Ben, do you think you've got any friends or family or anyone like that that feels that way, that feels guilt over that? I don't know. I don't think I know anyone who feels that way. Maybe it's because I'm in London.
I've got one or two in the family.
Really? That have got that
snowflakes. They're proper like fucking left-wing snowflakes.
I don't feel nothing
never used
about
to be that way. It's only been a recent thing that they've
and it's not.
turned
And the thing,
snowflakey.
it's not in a horrible way. It's not like, oh, I don't care that happened. You know, slavery. Oh, I don't care that it happened. Of course, it's disgusting.
It's got fuck all to do with me.
But it's
or
got
you, or anyone else.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's kind of like, do we go after the relatives now of Adolf? Like everyone in these bloodlines since, anyone that's spawned of generations, do we go after them because of what he done? Because, well, then that's the same bloodline. So surely that's the same thing. You can't hold and And if you do want to put that onto white people and say everyone now, let's just say all of us must feel guilty. How many more generations of it? 100 generations, 200 generations? When does it become
I'll go after the Scandinavians. I'll go after the Romans, like the Italians.
Yep.
I'll go after the French and the Germanics and all that lot that come over here, invaded and pillaged over here. And essayed.
So I mean, exactly, and it will never ever end.
Say, hey, we can allow immigrants in, but we need to make sure that they're culturally compatible with the project, whether it's in the UK or America. It's not about race; it's about making sure that they're fit for what we're doing here.
Okay,
and in both America and in the UK, you just allowed anyone in, right? And that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, a lot of truth in what my fellow panelists just said. Point number 2, really quickly. Let's be careful. The police screwed up here big time. We don't know where that screw up comes from. Pierce, I think a lot of what you say about the DEI policies and the racial policies, the biases in the police, spot on. But this also could have just been really shitty police work. I mean, let's be real. The murderer called into the police. Yeah. That doesn't happen often. And to an earlier point made, he said, a young white drunk man just attacked me. Yeah. So they came looking for a young drunk white man.
I don't disagree with you. I don't think we should make any great presumptions about it. It just seems to me... But it seems to me there's been this treading on eggshells in these kind of scenarios ever since George Floyd, ever since the George Floyd murder. And I think, this has got to be corrected.
But we saw it with the
hold on. My last quick point is Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense, it wasn't just J.D. Vance, 2 days ago, the anniversary of D-Day, and Hegseth, that punk, is in front of Europe, lecturing Europe about an invasion of immigrants on a solemn anniversary of D-Day. Talk about taking advantage.
No, it's not taking advantage. It's just saying of what it is. It's just saying of what it is and how the country is changing. What is wrong with that? Why are you not allowed to talk about it? It's like they're more angry that you talk about it rather than facing the problem of what's going on.
Of what happened to Nowak, the young white man. It's horrible. He did the same thing Vance did.
The thing is, Joe, in England, we've moved from the premise of the police treating everyone equal under the law to a fundamental principle that treats people differently according to their identity and their race. And that's what we're trying to establish.
But I would argue,
you let everyone speak for so long.
I would argue that what Ashok said is probably more accurate, which is actually, I mean, to me, it's a pendulum thing. We saw it with Me Too. We saw it with all these things where there is a necessary movement, but sometimes the pendulum goes too far the other way, and then you have to have a correction. You know, I think we're seeing the same thing here because actually to pretend that the Met Police in particular, going back, say, to the 60s, 70s, 80s, didn't have racism in its ranks. Of course it did.
We're not pretending that.
No, but what I'm saying
since
is...
then... I'm not saying there wasn't.
Wait, you're missing my point. So it wasn't...
Well, you won't let me make mine.
The police weren't operating, actually, from a position of racial equality before.
But the guidance was to do so. Now the guidance has changed.
The guidance was to try and correct that.
You know what?
Yeah,
he's a misogynistic prick. I never use misogynistic. Yeah. He's a misogynistic prick.
I know.
Misogynistic, and he's a fucking narcissist.
I know.
That pissed me off. That's a true misogynistic there.
Do you know what? He never used to be, I suppose, as blatant as this, but I think because I've covered him, as I say, the last month when we've been doing things like this, I've really, really picked up on his patterns in how he behaves. Like he's a puppeteer, isn't he? He's the puppeteer of everything. Like I'll agree with you for a second, but when no, I think she's right. No, I think she's right. You two fight. No, let me bring in so and so. Right, now you fight. He just plays the game, and it's disingenuous.
The pendulum's gone too far. Well, I think police are now subliminally so worried about being accused of being racist,
which is exactly what she said in the first place. That's exactly what we were trying to say in the first place. And he called her out and he said, no. That's exactly what she was saying.
They are now making decisions in the moment.
Millie Dowler, exactly.
As we saw here, and that may be the reason, we don't know for sure, but it may have been the explanatory reason for why they believed the killer over the victim in this case. And to me, all these policy initiatives they've taken, when you see phrases which actively encourage a do not be colorblind here, that really rings alarm bells for me. Absolutely, we should be colorblind. I don't think we were before George Floyd, and that got exposed quite regularly, racism in the police.
He's blind
and
then.
I think we've gone too far the other way. And there needs to be, as we've seen with Me Too, in a different way, needs to be a correction. It needs to come back to a place of common sense and a genuine colorblindness where whoever you are, regardless of skin color, regardless of
exactly what fucking Layla said.
Anything,
I know. That's what I'm trying to say. All he's doing is he's taking her words and saying it in a different way.
We're way off that. you know, and we have been for different reasons going back decades.
But it's,
so we need to sort it.
It's also true in the reverse. We saw with the grooming gang victims,
yeah.
people were so scared of being called
Classic
racist
example.
or Islamophobic. We saw it with Salman Abedi, the terrorist who caused the Manchester attack. The security guard was so scared to call it out in case he would be called racist. I've spoken to people from the Met who have told me that if there's a mob of white people, they will use the adequate force to contain that. If there's a mob of black people, ethnic minorities, they will use less force because to be called racist, they will be thrown under the bus.
Yep.
Our public servants are so petrified of getting the race issue wrong because the repercussions of that are more severe than letting a victim die or failing a victim.
Okay,
and that incentive has to be reversed.
Okay, I agree. Look, I think what was going on before had to be reversed. And this now has to be corrected. And we need to get to a place of common sense where actually we do get to a place of equity and racial equality and colourblindness. That would be a utopia.
Yeah. Anyway, Piers, you absolutely.
Can you just rewind a little bit? Did he just agree with Layla then?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, he did.
I bet he's got his directors in his ear saying,
the repercussions of that are more severe than letting a victim die or failing a victim.
Okay,
and that incentive has to be reversed.
Okay, I agree. Look, I think what was going on.
Yeah, I know. He agrees with her. This is what I'm saying. Piers is really full of
shit.
Language, Ben. We don't have that kind of language on here. We speak with respect and care.
I was being respectful. That's me being
compassion and love. Yeah. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that. Did you enjoy yourself?
I did, yeah.
You did you? Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow around 7, 8, depends, because my timing's terrible, isn't it? But we are getting back into doing this every day, so hey, we're here. But we'll be back again tomorrow. It'll be 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Just keep an eye on your phone and iPhone. You see that? I've got a joke for you. I've got a joke for you before we finish off. This is a good one. I think I've said this already, but I'll say it again anyway. But just pretend you haven't heard it. Right. So there's 2 gay police officers. They're at home getting kinky. Anyway, they move up into the bedroom and they're getting it on. They went undercover.